Man!
One.
All right. That was awesome.
I wasn't ready to make a sequel until we had a special story worthy of a sequel, and until we could delve deeper into the experience of a fighter pilot.
Tom has always had an incredible love for aviation, and how to capture the love of aviation was very important to Tom.
When Tom approaches a project, it's got to be perfect. And in order for this to be perfect, the aviation sequences had to be real.
I'm always thinking, how do we do this in a manner that is constantly pushing our art form, action, storytelling? So we worked with the Navy and the Top Gun school to formulate how to shoot it practically. Because if we're going to do it, we're going to fly in the F-18s.
Good morning, aviators.
I had to sit down with the cast and say, if we're going to do it, it's going to be a very challenging time for everyone.
He told me that the actors would all be in jets. And I remember I got chills.
None of us knew exactly what that meant at the time. I don't think any of the cast ever anticipated that we would actually be in F-18s. I think it was just like, oh, of course we're gonna go for like a flight so you can know what it's like to be in an airplane.
All right, let's go.
Tom wanted it to be as close to reality as possible. And so as an actor, that's terrifying.
To actually become a fighter pilot in the Navy means you've gone through years of training. To get an actor in there in a couple of months required the actors to go through a rigorous amount of training as well. You can't just put an actor inside an F-18 Super Hornet. The experience is so physically grueling that most people would pass out.
Tom told us this when we first started, that he was like, the only way I'll do this movie is if we're shooting a practical. And people thought he was crazy. People were like, there's no way that you're gonna get 6 actors up in the air and be in an F-18 going 700 or 800 miles an hour.
You're going too fast, man. Well, no harm in being ahead of schedule.
Us up in these jets, everybody thought it would be impossible. And I think when Tom hears that something's impossible or it can't be done, that's when he gets to work.
Today we'll start with what you only think you know.
Tom was really involved in just about every aspect of getting our actors ready for an F-18.
His passion for flying is something that I think is really contagious. And it's crucial for a film like this because this is an aviation movie to the nth degree.
For the actors, I had to build a training program for them. Their understanding of radios, of flying, of being in an aircraft, being in confined spaces where it's hot, because you have responsibilities in that F-18. You're not just going for a ride. You're actually there, and you have to learn certain things in case an emergency happens.
First, if you're going to fly in the F-18, it is mandated by the Navy that you go through water survival training.
There's various steps that the actors must become proficient at.
Don't be afraid to do it like you mean it. Do it like you're actually falling at 120 miles an hour.
And they have to be able to do it. If they can't do it, they can't get in the F-18.
You're not likely to drown during this training, but it's significant physical experience.
We had some that were very challenged.
I did not know how to swim. So we went through intensive swim training with some Olympic coaches.
I really enjoyed the swim training, but actually going to the testing facility in Miramar was a very different thing.
The water survival training was heinous.
Had a little freak out.
I was petrified. I was like, okay, am I gonna be able to do this?
We're about to get dunked.
There's all these different contraptions and things that like pull you through the water and like drop you into a tank.
Very intense. You get blindfolded, strapped to a chair, water fills up, they submerge you, spin you upside down, you gotta get out. It's really been intense.
Each of them had to go through that testing before they were cleared to go into a jet.
From there, we started Tom's all-encompassing training regimen.
Tom created this aviation training very generously because he knew that this is what he wished he had on the first one. As a real pilot himself, he knows better than anybody what kind of training is needed to get actors comfortable in these situations so that they can do the acting that they need to do up in the skies.
We're in the infant stages right now, so just taking it step by step, and it's exciting, but it's certainly not something I'm taking lightly. We started out in the Cessna.
It is a single-engine airplane. I needed to build up their spatial awareness inside the aircraft.
We got to pretty much take off ourselves the first time.
Unreal. Oh my gosh.
Then I took them to an extra, which is more of a high-performance aircraft that can pull G's, go inverted, doing loops.
That's amazing!
Oh my God!
Whoa. That is awesome.
Flying like that might sound easy, but it was tough. When you're in an aircraft pulling hard maneuvers, it is intense.
You're just telling yourself, don't pass out, don't pass out. It's crazy.
Next, we took them to the L-39, and they went and flew aerobatics to feel what it's like in a jet.
We're training on loops, we're training on rolls.
Altitude's good, wings level, get some speed.
Wow.
Like the first turn, it was like 2 Gs I felt. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
At this point, we started working on the formation, flying.
So that they're used to having other aircraft around them.
You didn't expect that, did you? No.
Ride of my friggin' life.
From there, they'd graduate to the F-18 Super Hornet, which is what the Navy flies for real off aircraft carriers.
Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. First day, all of us together is very exciting.
This is why we do it.
Being in an F-18 is unreal.
This has some power.
It's like being strapped on to a dragon.
That was my favorite thing I've ever done in my entire life. We were able to do a lot of the stuff that I've been learning on the extra, except on the F-18, which is absolutely insane.
It feels so different to be in the cockpit than to be watching one go by. The intensity is just so much more palpable. And that's where we started really learning what the physical toll is.
It's physically grueling being in there and pulling those G's. It's exhausting.
1 G is your body weight. So 2 Gs is 2 times your body weight. 3 Gs is 3 times your body weight.
You'll be pulling up to 8 Gs in some of the maneuvers, which means 8 times the force of gravity pulling down on your body. Not only is that like 1,600 pounds of force, but it's actually pulling the blood out of your brain.
In order to not pass out, you have to clench and sometimes breathe in a specific way to keep the blood in your head.
That was intense.
The things that we did up there, you can't fake it on a soundstage. You can't fake the G-force distorting your face.
There's not too much acting going on. You're trying to not pass out, not puke.
But that's the gift that Tom gave us, that by the time we got up there, we could handle it.
Let's go.
No turning back now.
Nobody thought we'd be able to do this, for actors to really be in the jets.
We're extremely lucky to have been guided through by Tom.
Definitely the most amazing thing I've ever done. All the training 100% prepared us.
The actors have worked hard. They did in 4 to 6 months what the average naval aviator does over the course of almost 2 years. I thought one of them would tap out. I thought for sure at least one would tap out. Nobody tapped out. I lost the bet.
Flares, no, no, no!
Each of the actors was up for the challenge. I'm sure a few of them were nervous, but at the same time, they were really excited.
Truly is the kind of movie they don't make anymore.
I'm very proud of what we all accomplished.
And we know what it took to deliver for the audience something that they've never seen before.
His exploits, legendary. His call sign, Maverick.
People have been asking Tom about making a sequel to Top Gun since the original film came out. And in all those years, his answer was always the same. He would do it only if the story was right.
Once I was satisfied with what the story was, I said, okay, how do we now take it to the next level?
How can we use the highest level of our skills to capture an audience's attention? I had spent decades studying aerial photography,
I'd study camera mounts
and camera angles.
Just a little higher. That's a perfect. Great camera position.
because it all comes back to how do we push technology to a point where we can
show what it's like for these fighter pilots
and get the audience immersed in the environment in a very cinematic way.
All right, let's go.
Aviation film like this has never been done, and chances are will never be done again.
It's very important to me that it be practical, that we actually put the camera right in there and shoot the sequences for real. That was the aim. That was always the goal. I said, I'm not going to make this film unless we can accomplish that.
Tom told me from the very start, this is going to be harder than you even think. And he was right. Getting a camera into a Navy F-18 is a lot harder than it sounds. Getting 6 cameras in there is almost impossible. We worked with the Navy for over a year to design a system that would get the angles we wanted to get, but also did it in a way that didn't interfere with any of the functions of the airplane.
We had to go through all kinds of engineering, and it had to be built to specifications.
Anytime we put anything in the cockpit of an F-18, we have to be very clear what impact that's going to have. If those cameras come off under G, now you have something coming back and hitting an actor or going forward and hitting the pilot, and that could be bad. So we had to make sure everything was going to stay on the airplane throughout the entire flight.
The Navy basically told us what we had to do in order for it to stand up to 7.5 Gs and 550 knots.
These cameras are
unbelievable, groundbreaking.
They're specifically built for Top Gun.
The camera actually splits into 2 pieces.
You can put your lens anywhere you want and have the recording far away.
That allows us to put them in places that normally you would never be able to fit a motion picture camera. These aren't GoPros, you know, these are 6K IMAX quality cameras.
Check this out.
So the image we're getting is something that's just never been captured before.
That's what I'm talking about.
Besides the 6 cameras in the cockpit, we're doing air-to-air, so where you have one jet filming the other jet.
The helicopter with a camera mounted on it was a very typical way to shoot air-to-air scenes. But if you're trying to keep up with a speeding fighter jet, a helicopter just isn't fast enough. We worked with the Cinejet that has a camera mounted on the nose. Without it, we could have never made this the way we did.
You just gotta stay close. This distance is sensational.
Now we can get a shot looking right into the canopy, which has been tough to get in the past. Never before have we ever filmed an F-18 going that fast, that low.
Increase speed.
We got you, Mav. Don't wait for me.
Also, we have ground-to-air, cameras on the ground filming these jets that are coming terribly close to them.
It's pretty astonishing what we were able to capture and what Tom was able to do for real.
One of the things I didn't get filmed during the Top Gun, the first one, was getting catapulted off of the aircraft carrier. So I did on this. And I got to do that 6 times. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Assume attack formation. Proceeding to target. Going in.
We didn't have access to these aircraft forever. So every time an actor went up, we had to get the footage. We had to get the footage.
Game time, baby! It's game time!
When they're up in the jet, we were asking a lot of these actors. They had quite a long checklist of things.
Verify cameras are on. Check cameras on.
You get up there and you have to roll the cameras. You have to slate what the scene is.
We kind of become our own director in a way.
Okay, I'm rolling.
Because we don't have any communications with anybody on the ground.
They're actually pulling these Gs and actually delivering their lines and delivering their scene partners' lines in their heads and reacting to those lines.
We're on fire! We're on fire!
Extinguishing right engine.
Phoenix, Bob, punch out! Punch out!
I had to really teach the actors cinematography, editing, lighting, so that they understood what's gonna look good on camera.
What's the sun angle? Sun angle's great.
Oh my God, he's in G-lock. I'm going after him.
when you're making a movie like this, where you're actually putting actors in real fighter jets, accidents can happen.
Whoa, jeez!
So always we made sure that everyone operated in the safest way possible.
Every day, they have 3-hour briefings before a flight where Tom actually is coordinating and choreographing all the flights.
You're going through weather, temperature, angles, airplanes, knowing what position, what we needed.
I don't know if there's another movie star on the planet that could actually make these aerial sequences happen. He is able to figure out these sequences like he's actually staging a battle. Like, he knows the physics, he knows how he wants to shoot it.
Okay, guys, let's get to work.
We're able to get the best fighter pilots in the world to come in and do some very special sequences for us.
It's so exciting to watch this, and you see this aerial footage, which is spectacular looking, and at such speed, it looks almost unreal, and it's real.
We did this one canyon run, and trees were higher than we were.
Your canopy is scraping mountains. You are 15 feet off the ground, going the speed of sound. And you're like, how the hell did Tom Cruise convince a studio to make this movie? It's crazy.
The sophistication of these aerial sequences, no one's ever done it before, ever. It's never been shot in this way, period. It all comes back to the audience. How do we push technology to a point where we can deliver something exhilarating?
CGI just doesn't cut it. There's nothing like the real thing.
People just don't make movies like this anymore.
I'm very grateful to everyone involved who has really pushed to the limit to bring this kind of emotional and visual experience to an audience. Having any fun yet?
I love aviation.
I love flying.
There's a majesty to it. There's a beauty. It's using nature, it's defying nature.
It's an amazing skill to be able to fly something and fly it well.
His passion for flying is something that I think is really contagious. And it's crucial for a film like this because this is an aviation movie to the nth degree.
Tom's an excellent aviator, and he loves flying. He absolutely loves it. And he's flying his own plane in this movie.
The P-51 Mustang that's featured in the film is Tom's, and it's a beautiful aircraft.
Even the Top Gun pilots kind of geek out over his P-51, which is saying something.
I look up and I say, oh, well, that's a cool looking plane. They go, oh, that's Tom's. I said, oh, cool. Who's borrowing it? They said, no, that's him, flying it. I went, okay, he's that dude for real.
There's still a lot of that pioneering spirit of aviation when you're flying a P-51. You know, if Top Gun was made in the 1940s, guess what? This airplane's the star of the show. The airplanes today are very computer-oriented, and the P-51 is all push-pull cables, nothing's automatic. I know Tom loves doing aerobatics. It's a wonderful airplane to do aerobatics with. It's a wonderful airplane to do formation with. And it's a wonderful airplane to take somebody in the back seat.
Tom is like, so Jen, you ever been up in a P-51? I was like, no, Tom, I haven't. Start. He went out on the tarmac. He started the engine of the plane and flames burst out of it. I'm like, is this normal? He's like, well, we're just gonna do some really gentle things, just like some really gentle rolls. It was an incredible experience. Certainly like nothing I've ever done before. And he's an amazing pilot.
Even though we're shooting Penny and Mav flying in a plane together, we're not being lackadaisical about the camera action. We're still trying to give that plane the same kind of dynamic and energy that we're doing with the rest of the movie.
That was an absolutely perfect takeoff shot. Great job. Moving to second setup. Let's go to the ridge line, take us up the valley, and start a gentle climb.
Continuing to the right, going up valley, gentle climb.
Something we like to do is we put foreground in between us and the subject aircraft. When I say foreground, I'm talking about trees, terrain, mountains, ridge lines. What that does is the viewer's focusing on this beautiful Mustang and it's moving out there, and then all of a sudden, wham, 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 all this stuff goes by in the foreground, and people go, whoa, they're going a million miles an hour. To do that, we used what we call our Cinejet. The Cinejet has to be on one side of that mountain or ridgeline, and Tom has to be on the other side.
Nice and close to me, I know. Get as close, as safe as possible off your left wing tip of the rocks.
Copy that.
At times, you'll look at something from the air and you can't tell how big it is, the size of it, the scale of it. And we're saying things to each other like, hey, Tom, you come over here a little bit closer. It seems like you're far. And Tom's going, there's no closer. I'm right next to this mountain.
I got a peak and I got a mount up there.
That was a challenging shot.
Here comes another one. Hold them tight, hold them tight, hold them tight, hold them tight. Perfect, perfect.
We've done some pretty impressive maneuvers with Tom, and he's executed them perfectly.
L-39's moving into position. Let's confirm it'll be a right roll.
Confirming it will be a right roll.
You know, it was tricky, it was a little bouncy, you know, so we had some turbulence, but it was great. You know, it was beautiful flying, it was, you know, it was really fun.
Everything you wanted it to be?
Yeah, we always want more. We always want more.
Tom's love and passion for aviation has really come full circle, and with the Mustang, it's paying homage to a great airplane that was the Top Gun of its day.
Anytime I'm in an airplane and I'm flying, I never get tired of that.
Without Tom and his enthusiasm for flying and his experience up in the air, I don't think this movie would have ever been made.
Here he comes. Oh, beautiful.
Control, this is Darkstar. How do you read? Darkstar, control loud and clear.
Darkstar is Joe Kosinski. What he's created was, you know, next level.
So Darkstar is conceived as a hypersonic aircraft, which means it's capable of going 10 times the speed of sound.
When you see Maverick in it, it looked like you're in a science fiction movie. It's so cool.
One last ride.
I thought how incredible it would be to partner up with Skunk Works, a division of Lockheed, and design an aircraft for Maverick to be testing at the beginning of this movie. I started thinking about the idea of Maverick being a test pilot, doing top secret projects out in the desert. That was an idea that I had very early, and Tom loved it.
The contract threshold was Mach 10, not 10.1, Mach 10.
It was very important to us that Maverick still be in the Navy, and that the Navy is really the only thing he's ever known. The Navy is his family. At the same time, Maverick has been in the Navy for 30 years. It answered the question of how would someone stay in the Navy this long and remain where he is? Because what mattered most to Maverick is that he always finds a way to fly.
He still needed to be Maverick, but he's older. And what is that personal journey going to be? And what are the stakes? We are laying in these levels of storytelling and world and nostalgia, yet future.
It is a technical marvel. Took it out on the runway. Tom was really in the cockpit. One of the things that Tom and Joe really wanted to do with this movie is to really up the ante from the first film.
Well, I'm kind of an aviation buff. For a moment in college, I actually thought I was going to be an aerospace engineer. So I've always loved airplanes and aircraft design.
And cut, nice.
Cutting! Driver, this is Darkstar. We are taxiing.
It was a real dream partnership for me to take my ideas of what Darkstar could be to Lockheed, to the Skunk Works division, which is their world-famous experimental division. I've met with them and explained to them that I wanted to design a experimental aircraft, and I wanted it to be, like the rest of this film, grounded and realistic.
Skunk Works is the advanced development projects for Lockheed Martin Aeronautics. We do a lot of the experimental and new projects within aeronautics.
What's exciting to us is that the filmmakers elected to come and see us about designing for them an aircraft specifically for this script. And it was an exciting opportunity for us to actually design in the open for an outcome that would be seen by the public.
Skunkworks developed the SR-71. The SR-71, also called Blackbird, is still the most advanced and most outrageous aircraft ever designed. It flies about Mach 3. Now, what we designed here is our imagination of the successor of that plane. This aircraft is designed to reach speeds of Mach 10.
Well, Mach 10, let's give Mach 10.
Mach 10. Mach 10 is over 7,600 miles per hour, which means you could get from Los Angeles to New York in about 19 minutes. A lot of things can happen at this speed, and to many of us, the physics of that velocity is hard to understand.
Skunkworks has run our 3D models through proprietary software that tests heat signatures as it's moving through the air to get the aircraft to look like it's a believable platform to fly.
Stealth is to be invisible for the enemy, so you can achieve that with various tactics. Our stealth on a plane like this is speed, which means Mach 10 is currently a velocity that is impossible to intercept with another aircraft or with any other weapon systems.
For the main design, a lot of it came from Skunkworks, was really the engine design and the shape of the plane. It has an arc in it. It's just for its lift at high speeds. And it just has a massive amount of thrust. And the engines are so big just to get air traveling through it.
One interesting bit is visibility. If you make a film, you obviously want to see the actor a lot. However, you cannot have a conventional cockpit on a jet like that. There hasn't been a material yet that you can look through that can take that Mach 10 heat. So if you look closer at our jet, it only has windows on the side. You cannot look straight, which is extraordinarily unusual. But we needed to make sure that certain camera angles still worked for Joe and Tom. So the jet actually tapers extremely to the front so we could angle the windows forward, which still works for the heat, but it gives us beautiful shots of Tom.
Okay, fuel temps are looking good. Control concurs.
We tried to work with Skunkworks, coming up with what would this top secret material be. And the closest I could really get was it looks like a charcoal briquette that has been burning.
And then the last thing that came in was that it would have these tiger stripes once it hits hypersonic. And it hits the shock waves as it travels over. It does this little bit of damage to it. And that's the repeated wear of what it looks like after it's flown so many times. And I think that was what really sold it, was that last touch, which made it look really mean.
The really cool thing is when X-planes like our Darkstar are being developed, Skunkworks will work hand in hand with the pilot that is trained to fly this aircraft. And a lot of times the instrumentation, the cockpit is designed to fit them as they request, because it's muscle reflexes that they already developed over their long career.
Tom was really specific about where he wanted the throttle, where he wanted the thruster, like literally everything. It was amazing.
It was really good to have that input to make sure that he's happy and that our test pilots are happy.
Just a little push.
Pilots are extremely important in helping us make sure that we have a very effective human-machine interface to be able to operate where both are pushing the limits of what we're capable of doing.
Right now we're located at the Navy base in China Lake. They've graciously loaned us this almost top secret hangar.
China Lake is a secret test facility out in the desert where there are a lot of projects going on outside of the public view. And I was like, wow, that would be a great location for Darkstar. After a lot of back and forth, we ended up being able to shoot there, which is amazing because it's just a place that I know for sure you've never seen on film before.
We wanted that moment in the Darkstar flight. You just feel not only command of flight,
Come on!
but the beauty of flight.
He's the fastest man alive.